When making these videos, I always rewatch the previous years first, and it reminds me of how much has changed within a year. 2021 of all years has been simultaneously the longest and shortest year of my life. My concept of time is broken. Stuff I thought was a few weeks ago turns out happened last July, and stuff I thought happened 3 years ago was more like 3 months ago. The saving grace was that we moved house just before 2021 began, which has given me at least one way in which to remember which year something has happened. But beyond that, I'm lost. 2021 has been the second year of COVID messing everything up, but the first where it has really affected me. Because I have fond memories of 2020, the fear and the excitement of it all, the toilet roll shortages. It all seems rather quaint now, when now we're faced with rocketing prices in shops, gas shortages, non-existent GPUs and so on. That last one's affected me. It's not like I was looking to buy, but the fact that nothing exists for a reasonable price has destroyed my interest in computer hardware. It's like part of me has died, and it hasn't been replaced with anything else. 2020 saw a renaissance period for me when it came to gaming. It felt like I discovered another awesome game every week, but that slowly dried up. Either that or Cyberpunk finally killed my interest in gaming. But I didn't game nearly so much in 2021. There were still a few good titles, and I revisited some of my old favourites, but in general I prioritised work above all else. And I was running on fumes for most of 2021, going through the motions because I didn't know what else I should be doing. It was a great opportunity for me to return to the sort of stuff I used to do. Odgrub videos, Total War videos, game making and music making. None of that was a runaway success, but it was one way in which 2021 was an okay year for me. But people were angry. I think COVID has shown the worst of humanity, and I felt like I was under a continual barrage of hatred. I was getting attacked by COVID deniers on one side, by Richard Lewis's toxic fanbase on the other. That stuff is always downvoted, but it is still there. The only thing that could have made 2021 worse is if Frankie on PC in 1080p returned and his fanbase began attacking me again as well. Oh yeah, that happened too. Crazy year. Honourable mention to the website Odyssey. Every YouTube video I upload also gets uploaded there, just in case YouTube randomly deletes my channels, which I'm beginning to believe is a real possibility. A year ago it seemed like a pretty good alternative to YouTube, but since then has been completely overrun by insane conspiracy stuff. It's highly amusing, but any hopes of it competing with YouTube are long gone. In fact, I got criticised on YouTube for using that site because apparently by using it I'm supporting the far right wing. And hilariously, I also get attacked by the people on that site for producing the sort of content that I make. Seriously, it's a whole different world over there. Their comments are a special type of cruel and nasty, and it's so extreme that I fail to be offended by it. It's just highly entertaining to drop by once in a while and to see what imaginative, highly racist stuff they have to say about my latest videos, no matter how inoffensive the topic may be. Makes me really appreciate YouTube's ability to keep the bulk of this stuff at bay, really. For instance, Kliksphilip started receiving a lot of vile comments, simply because that channel's profile picture had a mask in it. So I added masks to Kliksphilip's and Kliksphilip's profile pictures as well. But it's good to always see a positive side, and when the comments I get are so hilariously extremely evil, I don't mind calling them out for being snowflakes, and I've grown to take delight in the exotic responses that they come up with. I see this as being kind of like a calming side hobby of mine, and it's helped me get through these last few months. Though I do wonder if this is the first step down the path to becoming Richard Lewis. In addition to the hatred, I saw a downturn to my YouTubing unlike anything I've seen before. Like I said, 2020 was a great year for me. It saw rocketing view and subscriber numbers when everybody was first plunged into lockdown. But in 2021, it felt as though we saw the opposite of that happening. Every month, my videos got fewer views. My subscriber growth across all 3 of my channels froze early on in the year. And it's been really, really tough to stay motivated when every month feels like more work for a little less result. It's a small miracle I get as much done with as little motivation as I've had this past year. I do feel the easy times are over. But it's not just been me. Every channel I benchmark myself against has seen the same thing. Even PewDiePie's stats have plummeted. He's now only getting a third of the views that he was in 2019. 2021 will be known as the year of the great YouTube recession, and I can only hope it's a blip rather than the start of a longer trend, because otherwise we're going to see a lot of people getting burned out on that platform. I know people already who have stopped doing this stuff full time, finally returning to real jobs again because either the internet stuff no longer pays the bills or because they've been stripped of any enjoyment they once had for it. For unrelated reasons, it's been a tough few years for my family. People are getting older and it rocks my foundations when I see people struggling who I never thought I would see struggle. So yeah, it's been a thoroughly miserable year. It hasn't been without a few highlights, but the best I can say about it is that it bodes well for 2022, having set the bar so low. So before I study my channels, what possible reasons are there for a YouTube downturn? That's the $1 million question, and I don't know if I have the answer. I just know that it's affected a lot more channels than just mine. So one reason could be TikTok. YouTube's push for short videos is clearly a knee-jerk reaction to that site's success. I wouldn't have thought it was a direct competitor. The sort of content each website offers is wildly different. But maybe it's competing for the same user time. That is, free time between other activities, and TikTok's shorter, less engaged content might simply be better in that regard for people to watch. Maybe it's CSGO. I say that all 3 channels of mine produce different content, but it makes sense that most people will find me from my largest CSGO focused channel and then will spill out from there. And CSGO was neglected in 2021. I don't know what's going on in Valve. I suspect COVID has played a part, and maybe they're super busy working on actual new games and content, which would be great. But I just know that CSGO doesn't get the same regular updates and features that it used to get, which is of course bad news for CSGO channels, since the game's player base has one less reason to tune in every week, even if it was often just for rather mundane tweaks and map changes. The last possible reason I can think of is the most sinister. It could be that regular content has gone from being a luxury to being a must. Daily content, even. Humans are creatures of habit, and especially since lockdown, maybe people have formed strong daily routines to check for new content. So if a YouTuber isn't producing stuff daily, then over time they get phased out of people's viewing habits. If this is happening, then I am screwed, because there is just no way that I can produce a video a day for any considerable length of time. Especially not for all 3 of my channels. Something will have to give. The videos would be short, the quality would suffer, and I just wouldn't want to do that. And it's especially cruel given all those years that YouTube wanted us producing longer content. I think this will affect smaller content creators the most, where they're going it alone and without a team to help with producing their content. So with all that out of the way, how was my year on YouTube? What was my strategy? After the success I had had in 2020, I wanted to have at least a few months of 2021 where I'd focus on one of my channels, with the intention being to produce as much content for that particular channel as I could. Because that seemed to work before. But every time I tried, I failed to get the same success as I had done in the previous year. With little new content for CSGO, and not a lot going on in the hardware space for Kliksphilip, I made the poor choice of focusing on this Kliksphilip channel for a month. I saw that the channel had become mostly COVID content, and that if this carried on, then people who watch this channel for my normal sort of content would lose interest. So I pushed the 5 Minutes with Phil series to kickstart interest in this channel again, and it was also intended to get me in good video making habits by finding ways of producing content quickly and efficiently, which I hoped would then carry across to my other channels as well. This didn't happen. And while my Kliksphilip stats were great for as long as I kept it up, the moment I stopped, they returned exactly to how they were before again, and then dropped further still. Like I said, this year has felt like a losing battle. I think this sums it up nicely. With 27 videos made last year, I got 5.6 million views. With 52 videos this year, almost double, I got 3.4 million views. So that's 3 times fewer views per video made. And it was thanks to this channel talking about vloggy stuff that caused the problems I had with Richard, Lewis and Thorin last year. It was rather amusing at first for 2 of the largest names in esports to be claiming that I was bullying them with my smallest vlog channel, even when I had done everything I could to try and defuse the situation. In fact, there was an awful lot of projection going on there. They ranted on social media for months about how obsessed I was. They talked about how obsessed I was on one of their streams for almost an hour. They linked people to a video proving how obsessed I was, which I suggest you check out because this incoherent montage of clips is the best evidence they have that I'm a bad guy. And then they accused me of making them look bad by how I edited my video. Levels of projection worthy of an IMAX cinema. The question I have for you is, why do you think they went on about it for months and months? At the time, I assumed it was either because they were butthurt or because they were having a few slow news months. But there's a third reason. Once they had repeated the narrative that I was a manipulative monster with a slipping mask, something incredible happened. Other people following them started parroting the same thing, almost word for word. Suddenly, everything I did was being criticised, even really mundane and inoffensive stuff. But there was a pattern. The people criticising me were following Thorin and Richard Lewis, and I'd see telltale hints to it in their comments. Stuff like that I'm a patch notes reader or that my mask was slipping. Phrases that Thorin and Richard Lewis had repeated for months to try and discredit me. And it was working. I could see my reputation slowly crumbling, no matter what I did. If I did something bad, I was a bad guy. If I did something good, that was a devious attempt to appear as a fake nice guy. They saw me and my actions as being bad, and I watched on in horror as what started as just a handful of comments grew into their hundreds, all criticising me for now unrelated reasons. So I have to say, their attempts to get people to hate me did succeed, and it has made my life a little bit more unpleasant ever since. Good job, Richard, Lewis and Thorin. I'm not sure if they're aware of how ironic the stuff they say and quote is on Twitter, and I'm not sure they're even aware that they're the ones causing the drama they claim to be exposing everywhere. I endured 2 months of attacks from themselves and their fanbase, and I started second-guessing everything I was going to say, everything I was going to do. I began changing my behaviour even when I was producing completely unrelated content, in fear of it possibly being misinterpreted or twisted by them to make me look bad. So I was like, right, if they're going to attack me, I might as well make it about something so ridiculous it's at least amusing for me to watch. So I photoshopped their faces onto some flowers, and sure enough they went utterly ballistic. I was actually a bit scared when they started digging through my history to try and find dirt to use against me, presumably to prove how obsessed I was with them. And then suddenly, it was all deleted and swapped out for a tweet simply stating that they think I'm mentally ill and that they don't want to make things any worse for me. I mean, that's about as close to an apology as you're ever going to get from these guys. And that was that. What a strange chapter in my YouTubing career. You know what's sad? Behind the scenes, I got messages from pro players, from teams, from news sites, all wanting to talk to me about their similar experiences that they had had with Richard Lewis from Thorin and from their cancerous fan bases. But none of them were willing to go public with their own stories, afraid of what it would mean for their own careers and reputation if they got on the wrong side of these people. My goodness, I'm lucky I sit so far on the fringe of the CSGO scene. And I can't imagine how terrible my life would have been had my job been dictated by the whims of those two thin-skinned bullies.
Tell you what, mate, when's the next event where you might be at an event with me? We'll just deal with it that way. We'll just deal with it. Because you love the idea of consequences, right?
Suddenly, that checklist Richard Lewis accused me of makes sense. It's everything they themselves are projecting about. And I admit, it has been nice to see them picking fights with Brazil and Thorin with the Women's ESL League lately, because the community is finally starting to see these two for what they really are. But yeah, to summarise, my efforts on Kliksphilip were disastrous. But it helped shake content creation up for me. It kept things fresh for a while, and it certainly wasn't dull. But I really should have just poured that time and effort into my bigger channels instead, and saved myself a whole lot of bother. This channel shall focus on COVID until it doesn't need to anymore. I consider it to be a worthy investment for the future, and I do still believe my efforts to document its changes will be appreciated long into the future. My 2 Kliksphilip channel I am very disappointed with. Nothing that channel produced this year has been a success, even though when I look back at it, I did everything I thought the audience would want. I even made a new Odgrub video, which was a complete flop for views and subscribers. With earlier videos, I was confident that they'd finally reach 1 million views, but this time there has been so little interest in that video that I'm not so sure anymore. I did a bit of investigation into why this was. Why did my newest 4th Odgrub video fare so poorly when compared with the previous one? After the first 24 hours of release, the 3rd Odgrub video had 244,000 views. The newer 4th video, 34,000. Maybe there are lots of reasons for why it didn't do so well for views, but bear with me here because there's more to see here than just that. This was the real eye-opener for me. The 3rd video gained me 2,000 new subscribers within the first day of release. The 4th video, -1. I'd have been better off not releasing it. The reason for why this was is because it simply isn't being shown to anybody new. That's where the problems are with 2021. New people just aren't seeing my content, while my existing viewer base eventually loses interest and sheds, which is to be expected over the years. And to prove this, here is a graph showing how many viewers are subscribed and how many are not. With the 3rd Odgrub video, more unsubscribed people saw that video on the day of release than those who were subscribed. I had 73,000 subscribers view that video and 80,000 potential subscribers view it on that first day. Now let's fast forward to the new Odgrub video. And just to let you know, YouTube Analytics has decided to swap the colours around just to be confusing. But this is the bit that matters. Only 1,500 unsubscribed people were shown the video, compared with 20,000 subscribers. That's a huge difference. Now I understand that fewer subscribers saw it, perhaps because it's been a while since the previous video in the series, maybe they didn't know what to expect from a new Odgrub video and so on. But I can't for the life of me think of a good reason for why so few unsubscribed people saw it. There must be a change in the algorithm somewhere else these people are going instead. Now I know this analysis doesn't explain what I'm doing wrong, but it does show that far fewer unsubscribed people see my new content compared with how it was a few years ago. We know already that the audience click-through rate was double for the new video. That means that people were twice as likely to watch Odgrub 4 thanks to its thumbnail or title than they were with Odgrub 3, were it to be shown on screen. All else being equal, my new Odgrub video should have had double the views of the previous one, instead of just 1/50th the interest from non-subscribers. It just wasn't being shown on anybody's screen. If a video is bad, then I can understand if the number of new people it's shown to would drop as time goes on. But come on, give it a chance. Especially on release day. 2 Kliksphilip's content is being throttled to death. And this isn't a one-off. You can see that every time 2 Kliksphilip releases a new video, he loses a bunch of subscribers. Because existing subscribers shed, and because no new viewers are being shown the channel. At least not on release day. It's not like there's someone at YouTube who specifically hates me, of course not. I think YouTube has just reached saturation. I think there is so much content on that site that you can't be seen anymore. Not on release day. It might even be getting to the point where I should consider paying Google to put my best videos on YouTube as adverts, simply to get them seen in the first place. Not for money, for exposure and subscriber growth. How people seeing my videos as ads would translate into long-term subscribers and viewers, I have no idea. You probably think not well, but I don't know. But I am going to have to make a decision with that channel. Either I use that channel to keep on making pet projects without caring too much about how popular they are, or I find something that people want to watch and treat Kliksphilip as another work channel. The reality is, Kliksphilip just can't seem to find a new audience. There was a moment in 2020 where I thought that Kliksphilip was going to overtake Kliksphilip's popularity. But that can't be further from the truth anymore. And my Kliksphilip channel remains my rock, the one thing that is yet to completely fail me. I mean, subscriber growth has flatlined, though luckily on the right side of hitting 1 million subs. Views have become harder to come by, but stubbornness is a great motivator, and I worked incredibly hard in December to try and buck the downward trend. And I succeeded. On paper at least. 180,000 daily views is nothing special for that channel, especially not for a December, but given the circumstances, I couldn't be happier with what that channel achieved, and I'm proud to still be one of the primary faces of CSGO's YouTube presence. But those 180,000 daily views harbours a dark secret. YouTube's analytics page continues to be overly complicated and underly useful, so I manually recorded every video I released that month, and looking at that, it turns out that the bulk of my views came from shorts. Indeed, without them, my viewing figures for that month would have been dire. Of the 5.7 million views that Kliksphilip got in December, 4.7 million came from videos released in that month. And of that, 56% were from short videos, which is mental. If I don't include short videos, Kliksphilip would have had fewer than 100,000 views a day in December on average. Considering that 12 proper videos were released that month, that's one every 2 and a bit days, that's really frightening. Kliksphilip's stats are being temporarily boosted by the shorts, but the channel only gets a fraction of the viewership it used to. And for only 1 million views to be gained from the 1,000 or so videos on that channel that were older than that current month, it's evident that older content now completely drops off the face of the earth. YouTube is pushing for new content hard. So thank goodness for shorts. Shorts have become what normal content used to be, back to the old days when random videos would become insanely popular for no reason. Until making this video, I didn't consider views from short videos to be comparable with views from regular content. But looking at the stats, perhaps I should be nicer to them, since I'm now reliant on them for the bulk of Kliksphilip's views and subscriber growth. And the videos which take off really do take off. I think because they're shown to completely random people instead of just people who know my content already. So shorts can be an excellent way of extending your channel's reach. They don't earn me any money though. I think for like 900,000 views I earned like £14. And I'm not sure how the "Can you move the dropped bomb" short has more views than it has impressions. Very sus. I intentionally disable subscriber notifications for shorts because you all make it very clear that you don't like them. Turns out some of you still go to the bother to find, to click on them, and then to leave a hateful comment. To which I'll say, if you don't like them, then please stop clicking on them and then watching them. Here's my story with shorts. I tried making a few halfway through 2021, left them for a couple of months, and was surprised to discover that a few of them had grown super popular. So in November, I set to work on Operation Short. I chose the Cubicle Brothers as the channel to test it on. I ported all of their videos into Vegas, and within about 8 hours I had converted every suitable video into a short of some kind. And I don't just mean cutting off the sides and calling it a day, I mean properly editing it down, lining it all up and ensuring that it looks presentable and acts as a standalone video. And then I released them all. From that I learned a few valuable lessons. Firstly, it is possible to get a lot done in a single day if I put my mind to it. And second, don't release all the shorts in one go or they disappear, never to be seen again. So I set to work making lots of shorts from suitable Kliksphilip content. I made about 30 of these, the plan being to release one a day in December to bolster the views from my regular content. I ended up releasing fewer than 30, normally releasing one just before I launched each of my proper videos just to disguise the short and to give people less of an excuse to hate them. So yeah, it's been a great success so far. Just a shame I've blown through most of Kliksphilip's best and most popular videos already. So I don't think views from shorts is sustainable. But I will try to produce short versions of future videos to try and double the chances of my content actually being seen by people on YouTube. So with all that out of the way, let's see how my most popular videos of the year fared. So every year I see how many videos from that year break into the top 100 most viewed videos on my channel. Obviously this gets harder every year because older content has a head start and is always gaining more views. Despite that, 2020 managed to buck the trend by getting 36 videos across all 3 channels into the top 100 for those particular channels. 2021 in comparison? 3. That's right. Of the 50 videos that Kliksphilip made this year, a grand total of 1 made it into the top 100 of all time for that channel. And what do you know, it was the journalistic integrity one. I guess that's a silver lining to an otherwise dire debacle. Kliksphilip managed to get 2 videos into his top 100 of all time. That was the user benchmark and Windows 11 one. Proof that current topics get views, obviously. What is interesting to see is that the most viewed video of all time on that channel is now the door stuck upscale from last year, which didn't even make the top 10 last year. So it's reassuring to know that newer but still more than a year old content can still reach the top of a channel. But it's a shame that these graphs will never reflect that. And moving on to Kliksphilip, he managed 0 in his top 100 of all time. Not a single video broke through the million view barrier, though there were a few just below the cutoff. However I look at it though, 2021 was a disaster for my content. I have only been tracking how many views are required to reach the top 100 since 2019, but I got the figures I did have and I took a look at how the requirements have increased over time. For a Kliksphilip video to make it to the top 100 for that channel in 2020 required 50% more views than in 2019. That's huge growth for a channel that's been around for the best part of 10 years. Kliksphilip's requirements grew by 31% and Kliksphilip's by just 15%. Presumably because the most popular content on that channel is the oldest, the views highest, and so relative growth per year is less or whatever. So that's why it gets harder to reach the top 100 every year. But that didn't stop 17 of Kliksphilip's 27 videos in 2020 from still reaching the top 100 for the channel, despite requiring 50% more views. But look at how all this has leveled off for 2021. Viewing requirements have not risen anywhere near as much as from 2019 to 2020. In other words, existing content on my channel is no longer being viewed as much as it used to. Which I kind of knew already from how my daily views on all of my channels flatlined the moment I stopped releasing new content for them. These graphs show things clearly. This is how 2 and Kliksphilip's monthly views fared throughout the year. January was the strongest month for both, despite me doing very little with it. Then both channels saw their views drop off. Kliksphilip's remained low throughout the whole year, despite producing a mixture of content of varying lengths. Meanwhile, Kliksphilip saw a bit of a comeback by the end of the year, achieved through raw determination and effort. I'll just say though, it was a relief when this January started. Now if we zoom out to quarterly viewing numbers since the start of 2015, it's still clear that views for Kliksphilip and Kliksphilip have been on a sharp downward spiral since the start of last year. Though you can see why I'm so proud of December's spam of content for temporarily bucking that trend over on Kliksphilip's channel. Despite that, the last quarter of 2021 was still worse than any quarter from 2019 or 2018, and 2017. And Kliksphilip hasn't been this low since 2014, which was when the channel only had something like 40,000 subscribers in total. When we zoom out to annual viewing figures, it gives me a bit more hope. Kliksphilip had a dreadful year, but was somehow still not quite as bad as 2016 was. And coming from the most successful year that Kliksphilip ever had, then of course 2021 was going to feel bad. But it's not far below 2015 and 2016 viewing levels, which were the years my channel saw the most growth and attention. I am aware that 2021 has had its viewing figures propped up by short videos, so it's not like all views are equal. Looking at subscribers is depressing as well. 2021 saw by far the least growth my channels have had since probably 2013. I'm losing as many subscribers as I've always done. I'm just not getting any new ones. Now YouTube chucks shade at me from time to time by suggesting why this is, but it's all pretty useless. It essentially says that YouTube recommended my content to fewer people, which I knew already. Thanks YouTube. Views by subscription status confirms what I thought. In December, for the first time ever, more subscribed people viewed Kliksphilip content than non-subscribed people, and a similar but slightly messier picture is going on over on Kliksphilip's channel. In other words, my content is no longer reaching new people. It's stuck in a dark corner of YouTube somewhere. I don't think further analysis is needed. It's pretty clear how my channel's performed in 2021. So let's get on to the conclusion. I always wondered how I'd take the day my channels began to shrink. I think it helps that this isn't a shock discovery for me. It's been more like every day for the best part of a year I've seen my stats shrink, and I felt a little bit sad from it, and a bit more demotivated. It's kind of like the excitement I used to have when my channels were growing, but the opposite of that. So it's probably been good for me in a way to lower my expectations like this. But making this video has felt nothing like I thought it would. It's actually been very cathartic. It's very nice to finally be able to talk about this after having remained silent about it and all my troubles for the best part of a year. I am not alone in feeling this way about YouTube. My channels are not an anomaly. It has been a bad year for a lot of people. I don't like beating about the bush, I don't like pretending it isn't a problem. I like to be objective about things because I'd be lying to myself otherwise. I am not superstitious. I know that when the clock strikes midnight and a new year starts, nothing really changes. I know that my channels aren't going to magically spring back overnight or anything like that. And yet, I feel immense relief. It is a new year, it is a chance to start anew, and it's one opportunity that I will be taking full advantage of. I am looking forward to trying new things. I see YouTube as a game, and 2021 was a tough level for me, both online and offline. And I've got through it. I'm going to clean up all the projects I didn't manage to finish in December, then I'm going to have a good hard reformat, a fresh slate, and then I'll see what I want to do with 2022. But I think even that requires looking back at 2021 again. What did I enjoy about last year? I very much liked making a new song. I forgot how much I enjoyed doing that. My dad, too. He loves making music again, and I haven't seen him this excited about anything in a long time. I keep telling him to wait a while before sending me them, but he's like, no, it's finished now, and then he sends me a version, and then the next day he sends me a newer version, and this has been going on for several months now. So new music is definitely something you'll hear in 2022. I enjoyed making games too. Every time I finish a project, no matter how small, I wonder why I don't just do that with Destruction Terrorist 2. It's in a playable state with a full campaign and world map, and I'm not really sure what else there is to still do on it. It's just gone on for so long that when I load the project file up, it feels like an insurmountable challenge to actually finish, even though it probably isn't anymore. So I won't make any promises with that, but yeah. And then we get onto the prickly topic of Kliksphilip's mega projects. The Going Low series, the Total War series, and Odgrub. These are flagship series that I've made, and would like to keep making, but I admit I was surprised by how poorly the new Odgrub video did. It was still worth making for me, but to see about 1/20th the number of views the previous episodes had did make me realise how much YouTube has changed. It's no longer a place for mega projects. It really wants quantity. Regular, addictive, mindless quantity. And Kliksphilip's going to have to change a lot to cater for that. I haven't thought about it yet, but it's definitely something I'll be tackling this year when I can face doing it. And Kliksphilip is at the mercy of whatever Valve decides to do with CSGO, or as has been the case lately, doesn't do with CSGO. I enjoyed making a music kit for the game, just because it was fun to do, and because I thought it was a missed opportunity if I didn't do it. Now, it hasn't been featured in CSGO yet, and it's not like I feel entitled to it or anything like that, but it's more like I'm struggling to find a reason for why Valve shouldn't feature it in the game, when the music has so much more to do with the game than a lot of the stuff they do decide to include. Valve are regularly being asked by people when the Kliksphilip music kit is going to be featured, and I haven't told people to do this. And it's not like there's limited space in the game for music kits. Valve are regularly shipping large bundles of new music kits into the game, so I can't help but just see the omission of mine as being a conscious decision from Valve. But silver lining, this has pushed me to publish my music elsewhere, and to do the same with my dad's, which is what has spurred on the new album that he's been working on ever since. I noticed these end-of-year analytical videos get longer every year. Admittedly, 2021 was a very interesting year to cover. I don't know if I had a strategy going into the year. It was just to do more of the same as in 2020, since that seemed to work. And there have been good points. In 2021, Kliksphilip finally hit 1 million subscribers. But by the number of comments I've received since remarking about this, it seems that very few people were aware of it at the time. Still, 1 million subscribers. And nobody can take that away from me. Well, YouTube might, but unless they break into my house, this plaque is mine, forever and ever. So what is my plan going forward? I'm not going to have one, because I think my strategy for 2022 will change several times over the course of the year. I'm not going to bother making subscriber predictions because there's no way I can predict a month's time, let alone a year. But I'm not expecting growth anymore. I am keeping my expectations for 2022 as low as possible. I can no longer rely on my old content to generate new views, and I'm not sure I can trust new content with that either. It's the first time I've felt unstable in my career as a YouTuber, and I feel under constant pressure to produce new content, since my stats now flatline after about 3 days since the last video's release. It is very tough, but I will continue being me.